Hello. Hi. Current and future best friends. Welcome to my kitchen. We have bananas. Sorry. Welcome to my channel. My name is Janae. This is the Donnie Mills channel where we talk about reading and writing. This is exciting because this is my first official ever reading wrap-up on booktube. So this is probably going to be a little chaotic because I haven't figured out my little niche, my little things of what I'm going to do. Also, quick message, you're going to see a video of me next week where I look exactly the same because I did just film that video a second ago and I'm filming this video now. Don't worry about that. I still look cute either way. I still got the drip either way. Still got the trip either way. So like, why are you worried about it? This wrap up is going to be for February and April because apparently I'm a slow reader. Honestly, not even a slow reader, just like very easily distracted. And apparently I'm a freaking mood reader, which I didn't know. I didn't know that was even a term before I got on Book Talk. But it's not my whole identity. You feel me? I don't base everything about being a mood reader because I can make myself, if I have a list of things I want to read, sometimes I can be in a certain mood where I'll just read anything and I'll just go down a list and read whatever, you know. That just, it be how it is what it is. I'm gonna go to my Storygraph chronologically and show you the books that I read and just show you my journey. I'm also special. My eye is watering because I flicked myself in the eye with my nails. So something I haven't seen anyone on booktube do, possibly because it's pretty taboo. I don't know. Is it taboo? How would I know? Is I'm going to be using my fic reading stats as well. I've been doing that this year. I'm 2 months behind, but I'm doing it. I'm doing that because that, unfortunately, new books are me going into new territories. Fics are me comfort reading. Real books tend to have more conflict, which gets to my anxiety going. I stopped reading on the third page of a book that I know I'm going to love for weeks. It's the third book in one of my favorite series. I stopped reading it for weeks because in the first page, two friends are mad at each other. I was like, they're mad at each other. What are we gonna do? And I know what you're thinking. Grow up. I know. Tell that to my anxiety. Tell her to grow up. Oh, I don't know if I've introduced you to my father. This was hand carved by my lovely father, Kevin. He passed when I was 5 going on 6, like that year, 2001, Y2K. And he is just hanging out here with me while we talk about books. His sister actually loves books, although I don't know if she loves fiction books like I do. But sometimes I think she does. And so he's just hanging out with me while we talk about books because we're best friends. This is my homie, my diddy. Current and future best friends. Meet Daddy Kevin. Daddy Kevin meets current and future best friends. Okay, so the first book I read in February was for the Bookish Baddies and Ballers book club by Haven Coble, who was on Book Talk and Bookstagram. Really great person. She will tell you herself, hype woman. Really kind, really nice, and tried to focus the book club on reading like Black, brown, people of color, queer, diverse. She tried to focus that book club on reading diversely. Now, we didn't end up going on with the book club because of whatever reason, but Neon Gods was one of the books that we read. For the diversity part of this, the two main characters are bisexual. However, I did not like this book. I rated it a 2.75 because it was, and a lot of other people in the book club agreed with me. It was just very like, I like the idea. I like the idea of like Persephone, like Zeus is bad, and Persephone is running from Zeus, who's trying to force her into an arranged marriage, and she runs across this forbidden bridge to the forbidden side of town, and Hades is waiting for her, and he plans to use her for his revenge, but oh no, they fall in love. I love the idea of that, but first of all, I'm pretty sure all these characters were supposed to be thought of as white. I don't like that. Maybe Hermes. I think maybe Hermes was supposed to be brown. I don't like when white authors create world without brown people. It's like, what you trying to say? Katie? What are you trying to say? And maybe I misread. Maybe there were some black people. Maybe they're black people I'm not remembering. So let me not die on that hill, because there could have been black people that I'm not remembering in my brain. So it is a erotic fantasy romance. We love to see it. I do not own it. I read it from the library. I'm going to go through these books very quickly, and then I'm going to go through my stats. My Storygraph stats and my spreadsheet stats. So anyway, Neon Gods was my first read. Disappointing. Disappointing. Did not like it. Sorry, Katie. Not for me. Oh, and I read that digitally. Second book in February was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Yes, get some commotion for the dress, the girl that the girls are always talking about. This I read as an audiobook. 17 hours. Damn. It's a historical fantasy, apparently. It is about, you've probably heard this a million times. Look, French girl, she don't want to be like other girls. She don't want to be, tied down into marriage like this is in the olden days. She don't want to be tied down, so she runs from the wedding, and then she's crying out to the gods, but she's been told don't talk to no gods who answer you after the nighttime. One of them nighttime type boys be answering, and old girl gets got in a certain way. I think this book could have been very dynamic and interesting. Oh, also the two lead characters in this book are bisexual, and the male lead is actually demonstratively bisexual. Like, there is a male love interest, like former love interest or friend that's in love with him or something like that, that's in the book that we like actually talking about. That's not what Neon Gods didn't do. Neon Gods was like, oh yeah, and I dated a dude one time. Oh yeah, I dated a girl one time. Anyway. And I get it. I get casual queerness is great, but like, yeah, I feel like you can be casual and also establish that it is a part of the character's identity, which I feel like V.E. Schwab did do for Henry in The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Basically, there's some magicy pagicy type things going on, which I love a good magicy pagicy. And there's a, deal with the devil type thing, a little crossroads, little Dean Winchester, you know what I mean? I gave this a 3.75, so actually that's kind of a high rating. So maybe I didn't, I felt like I kind of hated this, but maybe I didn't. Maybe the ending was pretty cute. Like, for me, this was fine. This is a good book that was just fine for me. But it's actually, like, it's kind of like objectively kind of a good book. But for me, it was a little skim milk, a little 2%, a little watered down. Like, it didn't have a lot of depth. It didn't have a lot of, like, it just kind of had one layer from what I could see. Now, I'm not good at picking up on themes, so I could be wrong, but that's what I saw. Let's point out, February was Black History Month, and I was in the process of reading some black books, but I don't think I finished. I think I only finished one black book during that month. This next book I just picked up because I was like, oh, I need an audiobook, and it didn't occur to me, because I didn't go into the month with intentionality like I should have. It didn't occur to me to be like, oh, let me find a black audiobook. I just kind of found any old audiobook and just grabbed it from the library. So it's called This Time Tomorrow by Emma Straub. As far as representation, I do believe that the main character might have been bisexual, because she mentions a dating app and being like looking for men and women. And I'm like, okay, cool. Again, not relevant to the plot at all. Her identity, I'm not even sure if it is her identity. Like, it's not, like, she didn't talk about what a crush on old girl, like nothing. Old girl, old boy. But it's got a little bit of a romance element. It's speculative. Contemporary speculative fiction is what it is. I gave this a 3.25. Girl, I've been generous, because frankly, Addie LaRue could have been a 3. I will leave it, but Addie LaRue could have been a 3 in hindsight. And in hindsight, This Time Tomorrow could have been a 2.75. But I'm gonna leave it, but I put a 3.25 because she's what? Generous. So basically, there's this woman who's living in New York, and she's living the most boring life you could possibly imagine. The first part of this book is so boring, and then it's like, oops, I time traveled, and you're like, what? Because I stuck out for the time travel, but even the fact knowing that there was time travel, even I was like kind of shocked by it. Now, the setup of the time travel is very interesting. The way they did the time travel, excellent. The way that they set up a storyline, and they were like, you think you want it to turn out this way, but then you see it and you're like, actually, I hate this and I want it to turn out something else, but I don't know exactly what I want it to turn out. Loved that. Those are 2 points for that book. People of color, I believe there were like named, like the best friend was black. I believe that the male love interest, I believe that the two male love interests were men of color. Now that could just be Janae's imagination. That could just be what's going on up here, but I think that's what was going on. And then we have The Obelisk Gate, second book in the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. Bad bitchery is in the works, is in the making. It's just all of it. She just be putting something in these books. Just between each page, she just be a little bit of bad bitch sauce. You know what I mean? She just be putting it in there. So this is fantasy fiction, science fiction. Gorgeous. I give it a 4.75. It was like just shy of perfect. It was a continuation of the story that gives us a new point of view. Because of course, in the first book, we get 3 points of view that tell a very specific story. And in this book, we get a new point of view. And it's taking us from one point to the next, like most second books in a trilogy do. But definitely done very well. Read this series. I haven't finished it yet. The third book is sitting in my Libby right now saying you got 6 days left. And that was the book that I was like, I can't read it. The friends are mad at each other because something's wrong with me. But read this book. That was February. So yeah. Again, only one black book. Sad. We hate to see it. But for my reading stats, read books in 2023 for the month of February. Let's see what we've got. So, obviously I read 4 books. Looks like I read 1,500 pages. And the moods were mainly emotional and adventurous. Your girl. They were mostly 75% medium paced, 25% fast. And all of them were in the $300 to $499 range, which is interesting. All of them were fiction, because I'm a fiction girly. Overwhelmingly, most of them were fantasy. 3 were fantasy, and then there was like 1 speculative, 1 erotica, 1 science, blah, blah, blah. You know, 1 of everything else, but there were 3 fantasy, because I'm trying to be a fantasy girly, baby. Now, this is where I think it's cute, because I mixed up the formats a little bit, and I gave you 1 print, 1 digital, 50% audio, 1 print. What did I read in print? I don't think I actually read anything in print. I think this is incorrect. What did I supposedly read in print? Neon Gods? No, that's wrong. Hold on, let me change that. It was 20%, it was 50% digital and 50% audio. Let me change that. This time it's different. I don't even feel the distance. I'm not missing you. I'm not missing you. My average rating was 3.63. I don't like that. I want my average ratings to be in the 4s and the 5s. I want to be reading excellence at all times. February was not that month. Yeah, and everything was a decimal. It was like 0.25, 0.75. Lots of 0.75s. Sorry, not for me. And my reading by the days, ooh girl, this went up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. No consistency. Because that's who she is. Let's move to March. March brought us our first 5-star read of 2023. Now basically what you need to know about me is if it's black and feminist, like if it's a black feminist, like kind of like nonfiction, probably getting 5 stars. Black history, about black woman history, probably getting 5 stars. And like black queer shit, if it's of any quality at all, it's probably getting 5 stars. That's just who I am. Like, especially nonfiction. Like, not that I like fiction better, but I have lower standards for nonfiction, because nonfiction, all you have to do is keep me interested and teach me something. That's it. That's all I'm expecting from you. You know what I mean? So 5 stars are easier to get in nonfiction. That 5-star was Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot. And that was 5 stars. It was an audiobook that was 5 hours. It was a buddy read with, once again, shout out to Haven Coble, a Soulflower with a 0 on Instagram and Book Talk. Yeah, it was really fun. It was really good. It's about feminism, race, and I think this is a really good book for people who know that they are privileged and maybe are a little bit into feminism, but not like in deep, you know what I mean? It's if you're real in deep and you've read all the theory and all that, this probably won't be like much for you unless you are a white feminist, in which case read it now. But yeah, if you have privilege of any kind, I'm not saying that this author doesn't have any privileges, but she does and she acknowledges them, definitely read this, because it really takes you out of your perspective of your privilege and really puts you in the perspective of somebody who does not have those privileges. You feel me? Book number 2, we went back to being a dub. What? went back to being a dud. And that was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. It was a 3. The reason I read this book is because it was Barnes & Noble's Book of the Year. I remember distinctly that in my review, Storygraph asks you, we're using Storygraph, bad bitches use Storygraph. Storygraph asks you, were the flaws of the main character a focus? Is there character development? I said no for both. Do you know why? Because this entire book is just being like, Elizabeth Zott is so cool. It's praise white feminism time. Now, this character is technically an ally in the book. She holds up a picture of Rosa Parks on her television. I'm sorry. Just, this author literally said, let me find the most light-skinned historical figure I could find. Hold on. Now, I understand also Rosa Parks is one of the most recognizable figures, but it's still like, from a white writer, it's kind of like, so that's all you got? And there are no black characters. Here's my thing. No, and I don't have to be selfish. There are no people of color. Period. Okay, and here's my thing. The surprise character at the end could have been black. Old guy, the love interest could have been like half black. You know what I mean? Like white passing. And that little baby would have been a quarter black. You could have done that. Because you could have done the neighbor woman who becomes her friend could have been black. I understand the neighborhoods were segregated, but it very much would have fit Zott and her love interest, like rebellious spirit or whatever, to have a little bungalow in an integrated neighborhood. Or be the only white people in a black, it would have fit them to do that. Asian people? Pacific Islanders, anybody. Hey, anybody. The receptionist lady. A receptionist? Yeah. She could have very easily been a woman of color. Neighbor could have been a woman of color. Love interest could have been a white passing man of color. Easy, easy, easy. Bonnie, listen up. I'm dissatisfied with you, Bonnie. I'm upset with you, Bonnie, for your treatment of me and my people. I didn't appreciate it. There is a dead gay character who dies off screen and isn't a part of the main plot at all, except for the main character's trauma, so that's great. Love that for me and us and the people. That's great. No, I didn't. The diversity was lacking. The character development lacking. You know what was the most interesting part of this book to me? Was the daughter and her struggles fitting in because of who she was, because she was a really smart young girl and she had trouble fitting in. And I found out from the interview that's this was an audiobook that I read, and at the end of the book there's an interview from the author, and I found out that originally the book was about the young girl grown up, going back home and finding the cookbook of her mother from the time that she was on this show, because the book's about she's on a show. And it's and she's all feminist on the show. I love feminism, but I don't like the brand of feminism where it's just I'm a privileged woman, hear me roar. Shut up. Go sit down. Get out of here. I'm sorry. They don't talk about poverty. This woman is actually struggling to find a job and actually could become impoverished. And yet at no point, somehow, they managed to kind of just be poverty isn't a thing, bye. What's happening? And not that you have to go into poverty, but it's just weird that your character is supposed to be this feminist who is in danger of becoming impoverished and doesn't really talk about, impoverished women have less privilege than me. Now that I'm this high-ranking person that makes all this money. But you're a feminist. Okay. It's supposed to be literary. This was my first hint. There's a certain kind of literary fiction I like where there's a clear story arc. I need layer 1 to have a clear meaning, a clear something that I'm supposed to get, because I don't be getting layer 2, 3, 4, 5 is not something that I be getting. So layer 1 has to have at least a little bit of grass on it for me to gnaw on and chew on. If this book has deeper layers, I didn't see them. And it could, but to me it was privileged feminism is what I was seeing. I don't know if I said this before, I give it a 3. I got so much to say about a book that I do not care about. Then I read another audiobook, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Janae McCurdy. Just did a review about this on TikTok. Girl, heavy. Go in knowing that you are going to be dealing with You're going to be dealing with ED. You're going to be dealing with mental health. You're going to be dealing with, I believe, OCD, if I'm remembering right. You're going to be dealing with family trauma from mothers. Depending on how you look at it, kind of a sexual, kind of a abuse thing going on. That's briefly mentioned. I did not rate this book because I did not feel this was not to me. This was not a like, ooh, a work of literary art. We have to look at the rubric and type off what we got. No. This was just someone pouring out their story in this kind of really gut-wrenching emotional way. There are parts in the audiobook where you can hear her tearing up, and I did not feel like it was my place to rate her story as like a literary whatever, like, oh, I didn't like the writing like that. I didn't like the writing, but it wasn't about the writing, you feel me? So I just didn't feel like it was my place to rate it. Then, well, so again in March, I read this physically, and I actually own this book. Read a book I own? Me? Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, and I read this for the Transvice Readathon, and I have a whole video on that. If I remember, I'll link it. Link up here, if I remember. And yes, I do own the physical copy. It's right over there. Am I going to get it? No. So you're going to get this little card. I gave this a 4. So it rounded out the month nicely. The ending was so good. The ending. Sorry, if you give me queer people of color and magic. Like I said earlier, I'm there. I'm running, not walking. And I gave this the tag of great LGBT, which will be seen in the stats. So let's look at March 2023 stats. Again, I read 4 books, and this was actually just 1,000 pages, which, and 6 hours. I actually don't remember how many hours I had for February. Let's go back to February really quick and look at that. Yeah, we don't have hours for February. I guess I must not have read any audiobooks. I read Out of the Rue, and Out of the Rue is 17 hours, so don't know why that's not in there. Okay. I mainly read emotional, with reflective in second place, which is like, okay. I guess because hood feminism and I'm Glad My Mom Died are both emotional and reflective. For my pace, it was 1/4 fast and 3/4 medium. I read 75%, 300 to 499, which was mine around 100% last month, and one less than 300. Ooh, almost fell. February was all fiction, 100% fiction. This is 50% nonfiction, 50% fiction. For my genres, I read one of everything. Nothing was like, there was no front runner. So just run through the genres. We got race, LGBT, feminism, young adult, romance, politics, memoir, literary, historical, and fantasy. Fantasy's on the bottom. Hate that for me. The only tag I used was great LGBT. I'm keeping a track of all the great LGBT books I read because I'm tagging them because I might want to revisit them at any time. I need to know. And then for format, where last time it was 50-50, this was 75% audio, 1% print. Now hold on. Glad My Mom Died, hood feminism. What else was in audio? Lessons in Chemistry was also audio. Yeah. Girl, I forgot about her that fast. And then 1 print, Cemetery Boys. My average rating was a 4. Oh yeah. Break up. Bye-bye. I'ma see you in the next life. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Living la vida loca. That makes me happy because I want my rating to be 4.5. 4.5. I want it to be 4 and up. I want to read good books. Period. Ooh. This graph is horrible. It is basically, I went like, no reading, no reading, reading! No reading, no reading, reading! So let's take a look at my spreadsheet and let's see where I got it as well, so that you guys can take a look if you would like. This is by Aubrey, Aubrei, K, capital K, Templates on Etsy. Aubrey K Templates on Etsy made this 2023 reading spreadsheet, and it's so cute. The colors are so fun. It's got so many categories. All right, let's look at my annual stats really quick. So far in 2023, I've read 20 books, which my goal is like 75 or 65 or something like that. So good luck. 15 are by American authors, and Nobody else. Maybe. I know I've read a New Zealand author. 5 New Zealand authors, which they're all Tamsin Muir. Shocking. Let's not look at any more of my annual readings. Oh, but they're mostly 5s because I'm a bad fucking bitch. We didn't go over this for my January video. I didn't have this spreadsheet, so I'm going to go over the January stats really quick. We read 5 books, 1,600 pages, average rating 3.9, and average length 326 pages. For the nationalities, we had 4 books by Americans and 1 book by a New Zealander. 1 book got a 3, 2 books got a 3.5, and 2 books got a 4.75. For race and ethnicity, unfortunately, 80% of the people were white. That's an L. That's my L. That's on me. And then 20% were biracial. Woof. Gender, women 80%, because we love women. For my genres, 20% science fiction, 40% contemporary. See, I'm trying to be a fantasy girly this year, so 40% contemporary don't sit right with me. 20% fantasy. Oh, wait. This is 40% contemporary. Contemporary what? Contemporary what? Tell me. Contemporary fiction. And then contemporary romance was the other 20%, which, girl, I don't know how that happened. For my formats, obviously, I had 2 audio and 3 digital. I had 1 repeat author. I got everything from the library, period. 2 series, 3 standalone, no rereads. And money spent, because they were all from the library, 0. So I saved. Let's see how much I saved. How much I saved, girl? For $60. So even though I go on book buying binges, as you'll in the previous video and the next video, I get the money back. It's in the library, darling. Oh, $77.96 is the money I saved by reading from the library. Support your local library. Read at the library. That's what I'm telling me too. That's for me too. For age range, I read 40% adult, 40% new adult, and 20% YA. Publication year they were mostly in the 2010s. 2010s, 2019, like 3 were in the 2010s, 2019, and 1 and 2 were in the 2020s. I have an other, which is where I'm talking about like the representation as far as sexuality, because I want to be reading queer authors. 60% are by allies, aka, and I put allies in parentheses, wrote queer characters. So I call them an ally if they're, ostensibly straight from everything we know, but they wrote a queer character into their book. 20% lesbian author, shout out Tamsin Muir, and 20% queer woman of color author, which is what I want to be reading. Queer women of color, queer women of color. Let's move on to February. 4 books, 1,500, average ratings 3.6, average length 329 pages. For my authors, all 4 were American. An L. An L for me. I'm kidding. I'm when I say it's an L for the newbie American, I'm mostly kidding. I just think I should be, again, when we're talking about reading diversely, I think I should be getting out of my comfort zone a little bit and not just reading about people that have my exact same experience. I want to read people that have my experience, but also those who don't, I want it to be about more 50-50 of me reading people outside of my comfort zone. Okay, we got slightly better this time. We had 75% white. That's an L. 25% black. So it went up. It went up for February, Black History Month. Again, I know that's a giant L. I took a giant L on that. And again, not going into it intentionally. Have I done anything for AAPI month on the 25th of May? Have I done that yet? No, but that's because I've only read like 1 book. I've only read 1 book. So let me get on it. Let me get on that. Oh, I am reading one. I'm reading if Persians are Asian people, I'm not sure. If they are, then I am reading 1, but I don't know. All 4 of them were by women. Okay? And repeat author. No rereads. 100. All 4 of them had LGBTQ representation. We had an equal split of erotica, fantasy, speculative fiction, and sci-fi fantasy. We've got 2 series and 2 standalone. Love that for me. Everything was from the library. Love and having fun at my library. What is that song? You can have fun when you have a library card.
Fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. Having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card.
Fun isn't hard with a library card, whatever that is. That's so true. Ooh, look how much money I saved. Ooh, from going to the library. I saved $82.97 going to the library. Come on now. Now, did I turn around and spend all that money on other books that I haven't read yet? Yes, but don't worry about it. 75% adult and 25% new adult. No books from earlier than 2009. One book from the 2010s and 3 books from the 2020s. So a lot of recent books. LGBT representation. We've got 75% ally, aka real queer characters. And that's, again, according to what we know now in this moment. And 25% queer authors. And finally, March. I'm going to try to only do things that aren't in the Storygraph. 4 books, just to refresh you. 1,300 pages. Average rating 4, as we said before. And average length, 326 pages. So, nationality, 100% American. Again, L. Now, watch me get better. Watch me come up from the bottom. Watch me come up, because we went from like 85% to 75% to now only 50% white. When I tell you I'm trying to read diversely, I mean that. I mean, I am working on it. We've got 25% black and 25% Hispanic. So 50% people of color, 50% white. Again, it could be better. But it used to be worse. God is still working on me. He's still working on me. Thank you, Lord. I read books from 3 women and 1 non-binary person. So again, we with the team. Women, LGBT. Whoa, for LGBT representation. For the first time, we take an L there. 60% no LGBT representation and 33% yes. Again, my pie chart is really not reflecting my actual tastes, I don't think, unless my tastes are different than I think they are, because we have 25% essay collection, 25% contemporary, 25% memoir, and 25% fantasy. No repeat authors, no rereads, 1 series, 3 standalone. We love a standalone. And I saved $90.98 by reading from my library. And I spent, by the way, all these months where I talk about what I saved, what did I spend? Zero. Well, okay. Did I actively spend $0 on books? No. But $0 for the books that I read, which is a problem. But it's a different problem from the fact that I'm also saving money. So I ain't worry about it. Okay. Again, 75% adult, and this time 25% YA, because I believe Cemetery was YA. This time, there's nothing from the 2010s, and everything was from the 2020s, which is like, okay. Reading current books. Yeah, a lot of current books. As for LGBT representation in the authors that I am reading, ooh, okay, we took a little, yeah, we took it out. We have 33% straight, 33% straight/ally, which just means, like, if it's straight and straight/ally are different, because straight is like, this is a straight ass book. Straight and ally is like, oh, you put some gay shit in there, but it's not like ally clearly wrote queer characters. It was like more like implied ally as opposed to on the page ally. And then we have 33% trans author. So we've got our LGBT representation there. Now, if my going up in people of color continues to coincide with the going down in queer, I don't like that for me. Hey, let's not do that. We need more queer books and I know that's not our fault. That's not our community's fault. That's not the writing community's fault. That is the publishing world's fault. And that's why indie authors, because I know they're writing what I want to read. So yeah, those are my books, stats. Oops, I forgot my fics. Okay. Those are the books I read in February and March. My Storygraph stats for February and March, and my spreadsheet, Aubrey K template spreadsheet stats for January, February, and March. If you want to go, because we going to talk about fics, and by fics I mean fan fiction if you didn't know that. Because again, that's my comfort reading. It's quick, easy, it's comfortable, happy usually. Like, I don't be reading angst. This is my fluffy, like, comfortable, like I can experience either the romance, the comfort, or the dynamics of a world that I already love, without going through the anxiety of a new world. Again, books be having conflict in them, girl. I don't know what you want me to do. In January, I didn't read. I only finished, like, 1 fic because I was very much in my book era. February, I only read 1 fic that was 9,000 words, and the rating was 4.75. And I don't do the authors and stuff like that. Okay, March is where I started to get into my fic bag a little bit. You know that thing where you kind of just read because you want to detach yourself from reality? I do that a lot with fics. Fuck. I read 48 fics for a total of words read 619,057. Which, hey, let's just go ahead and add up how many pages that is. That is 1,000. That's 1,300 pages. So I basically essentially, in an Arial 12 size font with single spacing, that is 1,300 pages. So I read 1,300 extra pages on AO3. I wasn't actually rating fics back then. This is just me preemptively going back and like remembering what I thought and rating them. See, I have no way to track what the authors are doing, which frankly I kind of love. Out of 48, 42 of them had LGBT representation. So that makes it 87% had LGBT, period. Because that's also what I go to fics for, is that when y'all ain't getting gay enough, the girls on AO3 got me. Oh, my genres in here were crazy. So I had 35% fantasy romance. That's how I know that that's truly the genre I love, is that that's what I really read the most when I read fics. The problem is with fics, you can make it exactly as long as it needs to be. Traditional publishing, however, makes you make books a certain length. And the fact that books have to be a certain length, I think, causes writers to have trouble. Also, again, gay fantasy romance, can't stress enough. Very little of that is out there that I'm aware of that is also well written. Those are three, and then with black people in them sometimes, you can't find it. On the shelves, I don't be finding it. Now tell me if you found some black or people of color, queer, fantasy, romance, all four? Tell me about it. The next biggest is erotica at 20%. So I am one of the Spice Girls, just only on fic instead of books, because all the books are straight. And like, no thank you. Or erotica, whatever you want to call it. And then the 16% was sci-fi romance, which that's more like, I'm thinking more like space, anything is set in space or with superheroes, I'm thinking sci-fi. Because comic book science to me is very science fiction. Then we've got some contemporary at 8%, and then everything else is like 2%, 4%, 3%. And so I'm not going to get into that, but contemporary romance, yeah. It's usually like AUs that they meet at a coffee shop or whatever. So that tells me that I can enjoy contemporary romance in books as well. It's just, the girls don't be writing what I like. I don't know what to tell you. I read all 48 of them on AO3 because AO3 is that girl. There were 3 series, 45 standalone, 1 reread, age range, 47% adult, 14% new adult, and 37% YA. And what I consider adult is like explicit, new adult is like mature, and YA to me is like teen or gen. We had a couple in the 2000s to 2009. Most of them in the 2010s, which is most of them. I mean, a few in the early 2000s. Most of them in the 2010s. So that's how you can tell that's a height for some fic writing and reading. And then in the middle, so that's like over 30 in the 2010s, and then like in the middle, like a little bit over 10, were in 2020 in the 2020s. And then my ships. I don't know if I'm gonna out myself like this. I don't know if I'm gonna tell y'all my ships. Like that seems like personal information you don't need to know about me. I'll tell you the fandoms the ships are in. I'm not going to tell you the actual ships. There we go. So we've got 32% a Teen Wolf ship. Now, I used to love Teen Wolf. I do like some ships there, but this specific ship, the big ship that's in the fandom, is actually not what I like. It's just that most of the fic is written in that, and I can tolerate it, and there's a lot of well-written stuff, so I'll read it for the tropes I like and the things I like, and one of the characters I really like. But it's not my favorite dynamic. Second biggest is a MCU pairing, and not an MCU, a Marvel pairing, because these two characters canonically have only interacted in the comics. They have not, which I haven't read any of them, but they have not interacted in the movies. But most of my Marvel content has come from the MCU and movies, so it's kind of an imagine that these two things have happened in the movies. And then we've got one fandom that I don't support the author. I only like indulge in any content in fandom because it's free, and so I'm not supporting the author monetarily. Like money fandom, I don't do any of that either, but like free fandom, like the girls fixing what the author messed up and making it less racist and transphobic. And by me saying that, you probably know what fandom I'm talking about. 2% another MCU pairing that's really good. Ooh, it's so good. 17% rare pairs, Then we've got some Star Trek, and we've got some Hannibal, which if I say Hannibal, you already know what it is. You already know what it is. So yeah, that was March. And my next wrap up in the month of June will be for April and May. And hopefully I will have gotten all the fics that I read on there, because I read a lot of fics in April and I haven't gotten them all there. And now this is almost an hour of filming that I've done. So thank you for taking a moment, almost an hour, if I don't trim this down enough, with me. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Thank you. Comment your favorite fandoms, your favorite ships, your favorite genre. Like, what do you like, girl? Tell me all about it, you know? What average rating do you have for these months? Tell me that. You can tell me any of those things to leave a comment. And basically, whatever you're having right now, day, evening, night, whatever, I hope it's great. I hope this video helped make it good, great, whatever. All the love of my heart. Goodbye.